Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, coming at you with a fun video today. I just got an order back from PSA, so we're actually going to be looking at those results. Before we get started though, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. I do put out regular content about the hobbies that I love the most, with this channel being dedicated to the Lorcana game. Now, not only are we going to be looking at the results of this submission, but I'm also going to be breaking down some additional information as far as like the total added value or decrease in value from sending these off in to get graded, so you can kind of make an educated decision on what cards you may want to send out of your personal collection, or if you're about to sell some cards, if you should grade them before or not. Some information that you may want going into it is the actual cost of grading. You're looking at roughly $14 a card, give or take a few dollars, depending on if you submit during a special that they're running, all the way up to, with the current pricing for Lorcana cards, with the exception of like D23, the highest tier, which I think we had 2 in this tier, then ended up getting bumped into that tier with $75 per card. And I'll have all that figured out into the kind of the total plus or minus on each of these cards. And then we can take a look at the end of the video if it was a net profit for us to send these into PSA or a net cost for us to send these into PSA. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright, as you can see, we're going to start with some Pokemon cards. I actually re-graded these, so we're going to see what we got with PSA after we cleaned and prepped the cards versus what they were originally with CGC. I've got the old CGC labels here beside me. A couple of these other cards were also regraded from other ones. I don't know if I have all of their old slab notes, but I'll call them that I remember on there. So our very first card out of the submission is a Charmander. This is the Shadowless one from the base set. This is the base set I've had since I was a kid. This one originally graded at a CGC 8.5, and now we have that PSA 10. Very nice upgrade on that one there. Next one up is we've got the Bulbasaur, also shadowless at that PSA 10. Now this was the biggest bump we had. Originally, this one graded at a CGC 7.5. Now as you can tell, these are the old labels for CGC. They're actually the very early on like cert numbers for CGC as well. So they were pretty strict on a lot of their early submissions. So I'm not surprised that these bumped, but a 7.5 to a 10 is a huge, huge bump. Alright, we got I think 2 more Pokemon ones. We've got the Pikachu. This is the red cheek variant for the Shadowless at the PSA 10 as well. This one was a CGC. We actually see the subgrades on this one. This one was a little bit higher price card, so I did pay for the subgrades when I submitted this one originally at 8.5. So it had an 8.5 centering. Centering was the one that CGC was insanely hard on when they first started grading. If it wasn't perfect, like a lot of times it was already down to like a 9. You know, and we're talking about millimeters off to get not a perfect in that 10. Surface, we got a 9.5. Corners and edges, we got 8.5 and 9. And then we got all of that on this one here to get us our PSA 10 now. It's a big, big plus on that one there. Our last Pokemon one for this one, and we've got the Squirtle, again, shadowless. This was our smallest bump, but still a bump nonetheless. A 9 from CGC to get a PSA 10. Alright, should all be Lorcana from here on out. Lots of fun stuff in here. Let's see what we've got. First card for Lorcana in the submission here is an Enchanted Pete at a PSA 10. Love the Enchanteds. Trying to get a full first set of the PSA 10s for the first chapter. Next one up is Surfer Stitch
in a PSA 10. Love that one. I think there's a couple in this submission of Surfer Stitch. I think we've opened 3. I sent one off to BGS because it was really, really good condition. We'll see what that one comes back. Next one up is a Maui in the PSA 10. I think we had 2 Mauis in this submission as well. Let's see, next one up here is... oh, we got Cinderella, our first 9 of the submission, which is kind of crazy. I don't really see anything on this one. Centering is off a little from top to bottom, and maybe a little bit left to right too, so it may have just been a little off center to where it got that PSA 9. No white on the edges or the corners. Probably just enough off center to keep it out of that 10 on the PSA. Still a great card. This one's jumped up a lot here lately as well. It's a beautiful card and a PSA 9. I think there's 2 of those in this submission as well. Next one up is an Aurora. If you've watched any of my other market videos, this is kind of my pickup for set 1. I think this is one of the best buys in set 1 right now. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. Got her castle in the background. Very inexpensive in comparison to a lot of the other princesses that we've seen so far. We've got that one in a PSA 10. I think there might be 2 of those in this submission as well. Next one up. Oh, got 2 stuck together here. Next one here is, oh, we've got a Maui and a PSA 7. I think if this is the one I'm thinking of, yeah, there's just a hint of silvering down here. I'm going to see if I can get something dark to set behind it. So you can kind of see that white on the edges here. They were actually pretty hard on it. It's not a crease there, is it? I think that's on the slab. It looks like a crease on the card, but there's definitely not a... wasn't one when I sent it, but I think that's just a scratch on the slab. But this silvering down here, this is actually a BGS 9.5 that I cracked thinking it could get a 10. I did notice the silvering down here after I got it out of the slab. And when I resent it to PSA, I thought it was a long shot to get a 10. I didn't think they'd hit it all the way down to a 7, though. That is pretty rough, but PSA, for all their forgiveness in some of the categories, surface issues, they are pretty hard on. Looks really good on the back, though, so it's unfortunate. 7 on the submission there. Next one up is we've got a Genie, again, set 1, PSA 10. Very nice. Genie on the job here in that PSA 10. Last one in this pile here, we've got Simba Enchanted and a PSA 9. Again, looks like centering maybe off on top and left right, so probably just over what they'll allow in that PSA 10. Centering on the Lorcana cards is pretty problematic, which does make BGS really tricky to submit anything to, because BGS does not have that same kind of leniency on the centering. So probably just enough off centering. We didn't see any white on the edges of any of these, and no silvering on any of the front corners either. So not too bad, but we'll have to get another Simba for our PSA 10 set. Brings us into our second half here. First card up is, okay, these are our Gen Con Mickey Mouses. These were actually in our BGS video. We got every one of these back in a BGS 9.5. That was my first submission of Lorcana cards to BGS, and kind of probably my last large submission of any kind of Lorcana cards to BGS, because they didn't give me a single 10 on a single one of the Lorcana cards I sent in. Just very hard on the grading on these. So these were all 9.5s originally that we resubmitted to get the PSA 10s. So there should be, I think, 6 of them in here. So that's the first one. Second one, we got another 10. The third one, got another 10. Fourth one, Got another 10. We're going to go 6 for 6 on 10. That'd be awesome. Fifth one. Got another 10. And sixth one. Another 10. 6 for 6 on the 10s. That is pretty awesome. These were pretty much just handed out, willy-nilly up at Gen Con. So I'm glad we were able to get them all back home safely in that near mint condition, or gem mint condition as PSA. Next card up here is, this is the Gamescom Goofy in a PSA 10. I am looking for a Spiel Donald still to submit. I do want to get all three of the Gen Con, Gamescom, and the Spiel Donalds and PSA 10s for my personal collection as well. So if you have one, hit me up. We've got, next card up, there's our second Enchanted Aurora, another PSA 10. That's pretty awesome there. We've got another Enchanted Pete here in the PSA 10. And we've got the Madam Mim. This is another set 2 in a PSA 10. A couple of these are a buddy of mine that he wanted submitted. I think all the set 2 ones are his, except for one of the Cinderellas. We got Hades in a PSA 10-9, another set 1 Enchanted. There we go, in a PSA 10. We've got, I think, 3 more left. I know we got one big one left in here still. We got Genie on the Job at an 8. 8 is surprising because, again, that's not going to be just a centering issue. I don't see any silvering on the front. I don't really see any whitening on the back. There may have just been like the smallest surface scuff somewhere on this thing. It looks super clean. Maybe, I don't know if that's in the slab or on the card. Looks like it was on the slab. That's definitely on the slab there. Yeah, I don't know. That's a rough one. PSA 8 is surprising for the Genie on the Job. Again, it wouldn't have been just a centering issue, though it does, look like it is off center, top, bottom, and left, right again. You wouldn't think that'd be enough to drop it from a 9 to an 8, but it is possible. There's still overall very good submission. We got 2 cards left, and if I'm not mistaken, we got 2 pretty big ones left here. First one is our second Cinderella, and this one did get the 10. Very, very nice. That is a big card. This one's starting to catch up, but it was one of like the biggest multipliers, I think, for a 10 for a long time. With Raw selling for like $250 and PSA 10 selling for like $1,200 to $1,400. It was a huge multiplier for those 10s. Glad to have a 10 there, and then that means our last one here is the biggest one, because I know what we haven't seen in the submission yet, and that is going to be our Elsa, and we got the 10 on that one. Now, I was a little concerned on this one because the centering wasn't perfect on this one. As you can see, it's a little off from left to right, but it was close, so we got it submitted, got the 10, and that is a big one for this submission for sure. So that is actually a super strong submission. Out of 26 cards, these are the only ones that we did not get PSA 10s on, which is really fantastic. We did have some pretty big misses, though, with the Maui Enchanted. We lost that one from a BGS 9.5 to a PSA 7. So again, cross-grading is not guaranteed. They do have different parameters that they use on a lot of these, and some companies are more stringent than on others. Now, I don't know what we'll do with the Maui, whether we sell it raw or we send it back to BGS and see if we can get that 9.5 again on it. The probably biggest question mark for me would be the Genie up here. PSA 8 is a little odd. Again, the 2.9s, I can understand the centering wasn't perfect on them, and centering can affect the overall grade, even though PSA is probably the most lenient on centering. The 8 is not something you see typically from PSA on a near mint card, as it usually indicates that there is at least some level of play or wear on it, which there shouldn't have been on the Genie. So we may crack him up, or crack him out, see if there's anything to clean on him, and then possibly resubmit him in the future as well.
So there you guys have it. There's a huge amount of profit in this particular submission. If you guys have follow-up questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, Hobby Hero out.